Ladies and gentlemen, today is December 8th, 2015, and this is the KNKL Show, episode 273, where we learn to be better artists. Today is Tutorial Tuesday. I'm actually releasing a show on time. How about that? And I hope you guys give me extra kudos because I'm actually out of town. That's why the background is different from what it normally is. But fear not, other than, I forgot my microphone, so other than my microphone and my voice being a little bit more crappy, everything else is going to be exactly the same, so don't you worry. Don't you worry about that. Yes, today we are going to be studying bodies in perspective, and I do have, it's going to be a little bit more of a low-key tutorial for you guys because something is going on with, like, when I have my laptop hooked up, like, without the second monitor, it, like, does this weird glitchy thing in Photoshop. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But before we move on to the actual tutorial, we do need to take a stroll down a very special place, and that is, of course, the lovely lane, ladies and gentlemen, because you guys have been being awesome. I hope I'm looking the right way. I hope I'm pointing the right way. I should be. I guess I'll find out afterwards because I only have one screen to run my XSplit on. But yes, this is the amazing submissions to the Facebook. Thank you guys so much. If you'd like to join us, just type in that tiny URL, KNKL fan art. Come get some cookies. And yeah, have a good time with that. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it looks like I was pointing there. Looks like I was pointing there. Dang, I'm good. Dang, I'm good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. And just so you guys know, yes, I am running on one screen when I'm normally used to working on two screens. So you're going to see this really cool effect. You can see my entire XSplit layout. And then I'm just going to switch over to this really quick. So hopefully that should work out okay. But anyway, let me talk to you guys about the little glitch that's happening right now. So for some reason, when it's just on this monitor, I've been trying to like restart the computer, restart Photoshop and all this stuff. Look, it magically draws in perfectly straight lines no matter what I do. And I don't know what's actually causing this, but regardless, rather than get completely pissed off and not do a show, I figured you guys need a show. You guys deserve a show. And I do have something to show because I was working on this over the last couple weeks. And this is Wayna. This is the Christmas elf. And for those of you who know, Wayna is actually the working title for Lulu from League of Legends. And I really like that name. So, of course, doing the right thing, doing the good thing. I was a Grinch and snuck into the riot office at night and stole that name and then climbed back up the chimney, retreated to my ice cave at the top of the hill. And here I am now casting my show for you. So, yes, Wayna is a stolen name. But hey, Riot didn't use it, so I'm going to use it. And we're going to have some fun with that. So today we're talking about bodies in perspective. And can you guess why? Yes, that's because we have our elf girl. Oh, by the way, this is the old school one for those of you who've been following me since 2003, 12 years ago. This was the original Christmas elf right over here. And ever since then, it's always been a bit of a tradition around here to draw Christmas elves during Christmas. So that's what we're doing today. This is sort of a redo of Wayna from back in the day. And I figured, hey, let's put her in perspective and let's talk about that, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing I want to draw your guys' attention to is, of course, the amazing picture that you see in front of you, but this doesn't always start that way. It doesn't always start that way. In fact, I mean, even though I'm a professional and I'd like you to believe that I'm this good all the time, my pictures do not start like this. They start like, oh, dang it, that totally ruined the thing. It was supposed to go like from here to ooh, man, is that like, oh, what the heck is up with that perspective? Yikes! What's happening there? What's happening with these legs? Like, this is like really crappy. Okay, so, and this is what we're going to be doing today. I saved a bunch of layers moving up towards where we were going. And I'm just going to kind of dissect and point with straight lines to what I'm talking about as I talk about it. Okay, so let's start with the very first part, okay? The very first thing. Okay, so I knew that I wanted to draw, obviously, the Christmas elf, and she always has this thing. Her signature pose is arm on the hip, and then the other arm is like in the air holding like a present or something. Most importantly, she's holding a present above her head. There was one year where we drew like a massive like present above her head. But today we're just going back old school. We're just drawing it from a different angle. Okay, so let me show you guys where I went wrong here, okay? And, well, I mean, not necessarily where I went wrong, but let me tell you about my process, okay? So the first thing that I always like to work on, right? And I caution you guys against this all the time, but because I'm the master, I can break my own rules. I always tell you guys not to draw off of a head, okay? Don't draw off of a head. But in this case, I did. And it's actually going to come back to haunt me later. So, I mean, even the master can't get away from, messing up with his own rules, messing with his own rules. Even the Buddha cannot go against his own teachings. Did I just call myself Buddha? Oh my gosh. Well, I've definitely been eating a lot of pizza and like garlic bread. It's not like back home where I can just I have my set diet, and it wasn't that good to begin with. It was like, what was it? It was like oatmeal in the morning, and then you got nachos for lunch and spaghetti at night. But here it's just somebody's apartment, and we got like some orange juice, and then you got a bunch of, amazing. Oh, I'm in San Francisco, by the way. Amazing restaurants out here, but all of them are just they're like burgers and fries and pizza and just like really, really heavy foods, right? So naturally, I am starting to become a little bit more festively plump, if you will. And so yeah, I guess I am a Buddha. Okay, so anyway, back to what we were talking about. Back to the task at hand. And this setup is like weird because my elbows are like much higher than they usually are. But anyway, okay, so we got the face, right? I drew this face right here, and I will put an octagon around it because I cannot draw a circle. So I like this face, right? It's a very cute face. And I was like, hey, that's nice. Now that we got that face done, let's go ahead and draw a body. Let's draw it in perspective. And then I foolishly started drawing a body off of a head. And I've told you guys this many times. This is one of the worst things that you can ever do, and it will most likely lead to your doom and your failure, the failure of your piece, okay? But we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that, okay? So let's go ahead and delete these notes. Let's move on to the next layer. So I like that face. So what I promptly did was I grabbed my lasso tool, circled the face, or just got the face, copied it, and moved it onto a new layer, right? So that's the same face, but now we have a new body. Now we're drawing the body first, and I was thinking of the head as more as like, I wasn't drawing off of the body anymore. In fact, I think before I slammed this head back on there, what I did was I went in there and I just drew like a face and a head in perspective. So you can probably think about it like this. Look, it's like automatic cubism. It's amazing. I'm like Picasso over here. I can draw in just straight lines. That would be cool if there was like a tool or like a setting that would allow you to do this, because I could see where this would come in handy, like always doing straight lines. But if there is, I don't know if it's possible. I know you can hold shift and do like a straight line across like that. Oh, hey, that almost looked like it did something. Oh, that's weird. When I'm holding shift, it does weird things too. Or like, it does something different when I hold shift. Whoa, hey, wait a minute. Whoa. Did I just fix it? Oh, no. That's funny. I can move this like as if it was working. That's weird. Okay, anyway. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so anyway, I drew that head on there. And then I focused on just the body. So let's just look at this body here. And you can see that there are a couple things that I've taught you guys before. One is, most importantly, oh crap, did I just mess up this layer? Oh no, I didn't. Okay, we're good. Let's go ahead and get our color back, our festive color back. So a couple things that I've taught you guys before is namely things like this, like drawing in your torsos and thinking of them as like these hourglass shapes. Think of it as like you're molding your character out of digital clay, right? You're focusing on the body first, and as much as I know you guys like to draw naked anime girls, right? Here it is actually accepted, and it is encouraged, right? It is very encouraged because it's very important that you get the body right before you put the clothes on, right? And so that's what I'm always doing. I'm always drawing in the legs, trying to think of everything in perspective, getting my shapes in. But do you notice how if you zoom in here, if you zoom in, you notice I didn't go in here and like draw all of the toes, right? There's no like toes in there, and I'm literally trying to draw toes with like single lines. It doesn't look like this, right? There's none of that detail here. I know you guys are loving this. There's none of that in there. It's all still just very simple shapes. And the reason why I keep it simple, even this, look at this hand over here. See this hand right here? Oh, hey, that's nice dark line there. That actually worked. Notice how the hand is also just a shape. And that's really what I'm trying to get you guys to understand, is that in the very beginning, you want to make sure that you're focusing on flow and well, obviously there's like flow going through this piece, right? Because you can see the line of action going from her toe up to her torso and then to the back of her head. And that should look like a curvy line, but because we can only draw straight lines right now, it's going to look like that. But there is a line of action going through our character. And then we're sculpting the body out of shapes first before we go in there and start like really pulling out fingers, really start like adding those tiny little details. So my best advice to you guys is that while you're doing this, ideally actually you want to have some sort of like photo reference. Always helps when you're doing any sort of like picture like this. I mean, you could easily get a picture of somebody in this position or like from this angle or this perspective, right? Because hey, that's what everybody takes selfies from, right? And they hold up the camera and then you can see all the way down to their feet. You could even do it for yourself. Just take out your phone, snap a picture of yourself, use your webcam, have your friends stand on your bunk bed or whatever, or on the stairs and like take a picture of you. Get some sort of photo reference. That way you can see. It really helps in these areas, like down here by the legs. This is the part that would always give me trouble down here, is legs and just how the knee, like how it goes from the knee to the foot, like just how much the perspective actually distorts that leg, especially back here, especially that one right there, okay? So photos can really help you out. In fact, I still have some trouble with this leg back here, so watch out for that. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and delete that. Let's move on to the next piece here. Next piece. Next layer. Don't think anything really happened there. Let's move on. Okay, so now what I'm beginning to do is now that I've got the body figured out, now I'm going to begin laying on the clothes. I know it's so sad. We had a perfectly beautiful naked woman right there, but now we gotta put some clothes on it, right? Because I'm not running that kind of Patreon, okay? Even though some of you would like me to. Let's go ahead and move on with that. Let's move on with that. Okay, so we're adding the clothes on. I'm definitely going to be on the naughty list this year for sure. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, children. I'm sorry you had to hear that. Anyway, okay, so we're adding on the clothes. Super easy once you've got the body done. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Next layer looks like about the same. Okay, now we're starting to add in our values as well. We're starting to add values to our piece, which is basically what's happening, in the shoulders here and in the torso here and on the hat. And this is just kind of the way that I like to do it. As of late, I taught you guys how to lift your sketches, because before I always said, hey, just work with drawing, and then for your values, just press lightly. Because I'm always sketching with this gray right here, right? And then you see this lighter gray. That's not me painting that light gray, or it wasn't that wasn't the way that it was before, right? The way it was before is in order to get this light gray, I was just pressing lighter on my stylus, right? I was pressing lighter on the stylus. And I taught you guys to do that for a long time. But I realized that there are some major flaws in that, and that you should be able to have the freedom to paint whatever color that you want. So now I'm going to say that basically just paint the colors, paint some values in there, and then you can lift your sketch at the very end. And the reason why I'm going through talking about this is because I did a whole tutorial on how to lift your sketch with the last piece that we did on Violet, the Marauder Captain. And if you want to go see that, then click this video right here, click up here in the thing. There will be a little annotation that will take you to that thing about how to sketch in black and white and then lift that sketch. And that's basically making it so that way your whites become see-through, right? Like pulling the black lines up, and then your whites become transparent. And then it's basically like an alpha layer. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. But for now, yeah, you can click here and you can go check that out. Okay, so anyway, so I'm laying in the values. Now we're also darkening. We're darkening the lines. Now, a lot of you guys know that I like to do this thing where I will paint lighter, and then as the lines start coming closer to fruition, I will darken them. And the reason why I start light is because it's easier on the eyes. It's much easier to look at something and sort of like see the piece within when it's just like a light color on, instead of just like painting with straight black. So, but once I do get a general idea of what I want, then I begin darkening the lines. And you can see things are starting to come in, but still not too much detail. You got your ellipses, you're showing your ellipses, the bends and curvatures in your drawing. But I'm still not getting in there and like really defining like, oh, is it this belt loop or even this belt buckle? They're more represented by values. And do you see that? It's like the darkness of the belt right here versus the lightness of the belt buckle. The darkness of the belt versus the lightness of the belt buckle. And that's how I begin drawing things, or I begin like pulling shapes out. I'm not in there like drawing a belt buckle. I'm just erasing out, or rather like painting in a light shape that will represent our belt buckle. All right. So moving on. Okay. So we got that good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Now we're starting to add in a couple more details, I think, to the legs. Yeah, I'm really starting to like define more what the shoes are down here. This one, I don't know what happened here. Doesn't look like much. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, this one. Okay, we're starting to draw in the gift, right? The gift, which is also in perfect perspective. It's super easy. All it is a box. It's a little bit kind of out of whack. It's a little wacky, but I'm okay with that because I like cartoony pieces and I like a little bit of exaggeration, a little bit of like strangeness in my perspective. I like it to be a little bit more warped, a little bit more expressionistic, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, the last piece, or the last part before we get to the final, where we are now, you can see now I'm starting to really get in there and I'm painting grays. Now I'm getting in there and I'm painting these grays because I want to get to that point where we have a nice light background and then we have dark colors, dark values on the inside, so that way we can then lift the piece. In fact, I can show you how to do that. I can show you how to do that before we move on. Before we end today, actually. Before we end today. I'll show you guys really quickly how to do that. Okay, so check this out. So let's say we got to this point. There's still some things that I would like to refine just a tad bit more, maybe like those fingers in there. Maybe just a little bit. But for the most part, let's say that your piece is done, just for the sake of the tutorial. I'll show you guys how to do this again. I'll show you how to do it again because this could be your first episode. And if you are, welcome. Welcome to the KNKL show. And I hope that you will have a good time. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I went to image adjustments and then brightness contrast, okay? And then I like to use legacy on this because like they had it right before. I don't know why they changed it. Just click use legacy. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna brighten, you're gonna use your contrast to really kick your darks down to like very close to black, and then use your lightness to get your background very, very light, okay? And then kind of play around with this till you got that good mix of darks and lights, and I'd say it's right about there. That's probably perfect for me. Okay, so now what you're going to do, now that you've got a good, and a good way to test this is, right, pull out your eyedropper, the background should be white, and then your darks should be very dark, so look at that, perfect. Okay, so go over to channels, right, your layers, you got layers over here, and then you're gonna go to channels. I know you probably have never done this before, but this magical button right here at the bottom right, I want to make sure you don't miss this. Bottom right, click that, okay? Go back to layers, and you see that when you click that button, you got all these marching ants all over your piece. What is that? What could that possibly be? Well, let's go ahead and get rid of all these layers. Let's create a new layer, and then what I want you to do is hit Shift-Control-I, which is going to invert your selection. It's going to invert that selection that you just made. And then I would like you to pick a color. Pick a color, whatever you'd like the color of your lines to be. And then I'm going to have you do Edit Fill. Fill it, and then, yes, fill with the foreground color. And then, whoa, look at that! Oh! And in case you don't know what we just did, we just lifted the sketch. We just lifted the sketch so that way everything is now transparent behind it. Oh, isn't that amazing? It's a Christmas miracle. Literally the coolest thing I've ever seen done on Photoshop, and I'm so happy to teach that to you guys. It seriously blows my mind every time I do it. So yeah, that's how you lift your sketch. You can learn how to do it last week, but I just showed you how to do it again. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it good. So that's how you lay out a body in perspective. You're going to see my XSplit here really quick again. And yeah, we're going to call it good. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed looking at my process. Sorry that my tablet is not working properly for some reason today, but I'll be back in the studio as usual next week, and we can resume our normally scheduled program, and we'll have a good time. Before we take off, I want to say thank you very much to my awesome sponsors, Laura Bashir, David Chiariello, and of course, Nonplus. Thank you to these people for sponsoring my show on Patreon. And if you would like to sponsor the show, if you'd like to support and get today's PSD, if you'd like to take a look at this PSD for yourself, then just go ahead and click this link right here. It'll take you over to the Patreon. You can support the show, get cool stuff, and all kinds of goodies, including, like I said, today's PSD. That's the most important thing. Today's PSD, all the other PSDs, go get them all and have a good time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with all that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and end today's show. Thank you for joining me in San Francisco in this awesome apartment that my girlfriend rented out because we're having a party down here, her company party. That's why we're here in the first place. But yes, thank you for joining me in San Francisco. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. My name is Kienan Lafferty. I'll see you guys next week, and until then, you guys take care.